Hey, welcome back, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed Expect No Mercy. I certainly did. I know Kai did as well. Feel that vibe. And we're also here with the director, Zale Dalen, who's joining us from Canada. You're zooming in from, I think?
Western Canada, yes,
Western
Nanaimo,
Canada.
BC, Vancouver Island. It's
Beautiful.
not, everybody thinks Canada is all frozen northland and igloos, but our climate here is very much like England,
Yeah, it looks
very
kind of
much like
mild.
London.
Kind of pretty.
So we very seldom get snow. And my wife is from Winnipeg, where it's 30 below zero in the winter. And her comment about Nanaimo was, you can tell it's winter in Nanaimo because the grass is green.
I used to live in upstate New York, so I'm more from the cold end of that area. Yeah. Not Canada per se, but the northern hemisphere.
Yeah, that's pretty cold.
Yeah.
So was much of Expect No Mercy shot in Canada? Was this?
It was shot in Toronto.
Shot in Toronto, yeah. So do we count it Canucksploitation? It's outside that tax haven era?
Yeah.
Do we count it as Canucksploitation? It's outside of that tax haven era, but it's still very much in the same kind of frame.
Well, it was privately financed by Jalal Marie, and I don't know what the details of the financing were. I don't think he got any government money in it. I'm sure he took advantage of the tax breaks. At that time, Jalal was having a real problem because his films, he had a distributor that his other films were with, and the guys had gone bankrupt and owing him millions of dollars. And so he was struggling a bit. But
for anyone who didn't get to check out the credits, Jalal Marie is he plays Eric, I think his name is in the film, the offsider to Billy Blanks' character.
Yeah, he's one of the performers. He was also a martial artist, and that was his interest in making this kind of movie.
And how did you come on board with this? Because for anyone who doesn't know some of the rest of Zale's work, he is a bit more of an art house director traditionally. He made an incredible film called Skip Tracer, about a quite dark film about a repo man, and a kind of punk anarcho-apocalyptic one with Jello Biafra called Terminal City Ricochet. So how did you get involved with Expect No Mercy?
My agent in Toronto hooked up with Jalal Marie and told him that we could take his movies up a notch if he hired a real director, and that could have happened if I'd really been directing, but it was more of a mechanical job than anything else, and it was great fun. But Jalal had very distinct ideas of how the film should work, and how the performances should be done. So I was there, and I was setting up all the shots, but Jalal was very much a co-director, really.
Right, because he obviously had done very well and successfully at producing, I guess, kind of like action exploitation, fight exploitation movies, where he knew how he knew what action fans wanted, like where every fight should fall, kind of.
He was making the film for the American film market, and he knew exactly what would sell. So, for instance, you'll notice the cars are not late model, but they're big Cadillacs, and that's what his market wants to see. And I had some very funny moments. I tried to get some tension in the scene, for example, where they hot wire the car and drive away with it, and so I wanted them to have to struggle with that a little bit. And Jalal said, no, we're heroes. This is how you do it. And just fiddled around a bit and boom, they're away. So it was interesting. And of course, there's a fight every 20 seconds or something.
I think it counted. I think it's about at least every 6 or 7 minutes there is a fight of some kind. That's the longest that we go without some kind of fight.
Yeah, they would walk around a corner and run into somebody they'd have to fight, and then some of the time the guy looked like an accountant or something. It was interesting. It was a real learning experience for me. And some of my favorite shots did not get in the picture because, according to Jalal, they slowed it down, and you can't have that, So the whole idea of building dramatic tension, or I I remember the first time we did the dialogue in the car, they were talking as if they were on a Sunday drive. You know, they're just going along, absolutely deadpan, casual conversation. And I'm going, guys, come on, let's try to get some energy up here. So that was fun. And it made a difference to the picture in that scene. But I haven't actually watched the film for 24 years, so it's hard for me to remember what it's. I watched the trailers today, and they're quite interesting trailers. I think they outshine the picture probably.
I mean, I think you're selling it short. I do enjoy the picture a lot. We have a question from the chat that so you as I mentioned previously, you'd worked in independent features and film. Was it a bit of a shock for you to work on something that scale with that kind of budget and that level of VFX kind of built into the back end?
Well, I've always worked on low budget pictures, and my first feature film, Skip Tracer, was ridiculously low budget. I think it was 137,000 Canadian to make a feature film. That, I mean, Hollywood would spend that on their coffee service and more. But excuse me. But I actually like the low budget category because you usually have more freedom. And as a director, I could get more control. With Skip Tracer, I was the writer, director, and editor, so it's all my fault. And these things follow you around like a prison sentence, you know. Like here I am, 24 years later, talking to Australia about Expect No Mercy, and it's.
At least we had a really fun time with it. We you know, I think everyone watched it, really dug it. I've seen some very bad action movies in my day, and this was not one of them.
No.
Oh, thank you. That's
good.
That may be my contribution to the film. I'm not sure. My contribution certainly was not the fight scenes, because and you know, Billy Blanks and his brother were just absolutely amazing martial artists. And I don't know what these guys are made out of, but you know, the fight that they did in the industrial area where they're
Yep.
falling down on that metal grid stairway stuff, right? And coming up with no apparent cuts or bruises. I mean, these guys are made out of spring steel and elastic bands. You know, it's just incredible stuff. No padding, no, you know, and a lot of it spontaneous. You know, amazing stuff to watch happen.
It's interesting to me that you speak as though you don't feel like you had much of, I guess, like an directorial imprint. Sorry, you speak to me as though you don't seem like you thought you had much of a directorial imprint on the film, but having seen particularly Terminal City Ricochet, I'll move my mic closer, there is like a satirical edge to Expect No Mercy, which is a little bit sly, but it's definitely in there. So I wonder if that was potentially partly your doing.
That might be what I brought to it. Yes, there's a bit of a sarcastic, satirical edge. I mean, you can't take a film like Expect No Mercy too seriously, you know, because it's pretty silly, you know. Yeah. And if you really try to deconstruct it, it doesn't work. There's no way that kind of technology could do what the film was pretending it was doing. But it was an awful lot of fun to do. And Terminal City Ricochet was, I had much more involvement with that. And that's really much more my film. And yet again, you know, I ended up not in the editing room as much as I wanted to be. And it's not the movie I would have made quite. So, which maybe that's a good thing, because then the producer's got to go and sell it, and I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
As my wife said when I was complaining about losing control of Terminal City Ricochet, look, you got your sailboat, they got their movie, give it a break.
We actually have a question from the chat kind of on that. The question is basically, were you involved in the conceptualization for the VR aesthetic? Because a lot of that does feel like very joking and like a little bit joking in its own way.
You know, I'm not quite sure what your question is.
I guess what the question is more like, when you were directing stuff, were you, because I know you said that Jalot had a lot of power as well, but did you have much say in how the VR, like inside the VR worlds looked?
That was mostly the production manager, production supervisor. I don't have the credits right here, but she's on the list. And Stefanik was her name, I think. Do you have the credits handy?
I'm going to try and bring that up. Yeah, she would be credited, you thought, as production coordinator, line producer?
Production designer.
Production designer. Okay, yeah. One moment.
She was absolutely brilliant. And she could take a, the wall into the office and suddenly make it look somehow sciencey and, just by putting a decal on it,
Oh, yeah, her name is Jasna Stefanovic.
That's who it is, yeah. Brilliant designer.
Very much, yeah. It's got such a distinct look and style.
What was I doing there? Well, I was calling the shots, and trying to make sure that we're not crossing the axis and that things were going to cut together. I'll tell you that the biggest disappointment of the shoot for me was that ending where they're leaving the buildings that are exploding behind them. We started to set that up about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe even earlier, maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And at that point, I picked a spot and I said, the camera goes right here, and this is your lens size. And then we all started shooting other little bits and pieces, little fight scenes, little things we could put in anywhere, while the special effects guys were rigging. And the special effects guys putting in the pyrotechnics were taking forever. I mean, it was just going on and on and on. And to the point where I was getting really, really antsy, and we're losing the night. It's supposed to be a night shot, and the sun's going to be up in, half an hour. And I'm going, come on, when is this going to happen? And finally, they said, okay, we're ready. And I went to where I'd said the camera goes here, and the entire circus, all the production vehicles were parked right there.
Oh.
And so I had a choice to make. I could throw an absolute, I could, what the Australians call spit the dummy, and tell them, move it, get this out of here, put the camera where I said it goes. But I knew that by that time, it would be broad daylight and there'd be no way to get the shot I wanted anyway. So I moved the camera forward, and then I told Jalel and Wolf Larson that they were going to be running past the pyrotechnics. And Jalel said, no way, man, I'm not running past that stuff. So the shot I wanted just did not happen. And they ended up creatively editing it in ways that I can't even imagine to get what they needed out of it. But, a shot like that, you need to be back quite a long way and put it on a long lens so that the background and the foreground gets compressed, and it looks really dangerous without being dangerous. And there was just no way to be back and put it on a long lens. Had to be on a wide lens where the camera ended up being. And I think we got about 20 seconds of them running before they touched off the explosions. So that's the kind of things that were happening. And the travails of working as a film director. I remember funny little incidents, like wanting to have a piece of the plaster on the wall crumble when he kicked it, and trying to put some stuff on his boot that when he kicked the wall it would show up as like something had broken loose, and wasting time. Just could not get it to work. So then you move on, and Curtis Peterson, the fastest cameraman I've ever worked with. He's known in the industry as the ultimate hack, but by that point I was beginning to feel like I was the ultimate hack. So it's it was all of a piece.
It sounds like it was quite an experience, I guess, I don't know if learning curve is the right word, but definitely like being thrown into the deep end of kind of paycheck cinema, get it done and do the work.
Yeah, get what you can and get it as fast as you can, and move on with all the fight scenes, slowing everything down. You don't have time for a lot of dramatic development. But I've done a fair bit of martial arts stuff because I directed I think 14 episodes of Kung Fu: The Legend Continues with David.
That's
Carradine.
right, and you got to know David Carradine quite well, I believe, as well at the time.
Oh, I loved the man. Absolutely loved him. Everybody else was pretty problematic about him, but I thought he was just, first of all, he was the best actor I've ever worked with. But he was a raging alcoholic when I worked with him. I mean,
Because this would have been the late 90s? No, early 90s.
Yeah, early 90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, David would start the day with a water glass full of vodka for breakfast.
Oof.
And I don't know how he could do it, but he did. And he would deliver his lines. And he and I got along really great. We're supposed to be talking about Expect No Mercy, but I got to wander into that show for a minute.
Oh, I'm down. I'm down for Carradine chat. Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, we did one episode called Into the Bardo, where Chris Potter is supposedly knocked into a coma, and it goes into the Bardo, this space between life and death, and David has to soul travel in to get his son out of the Bardo. And one of the scenes, well, first of all, Chris was just acting his heart out. He was, covered in glycerin. He was flexing every muscle he had, and doing just really putting everything he could into the thing. David had one scene in the Bardo where he walks through a nightclub scene and sees his wife, who is dead, in the Bardo, sitting at a table in the nightclub. Everything in the movie, everything in that show is very surrealistic. And David looks at her and says, I can't talk to you now. I have to help our son. And a tear rolls out of his eye down his cheek. And he walks on out of the shot, and the entire cast and crew clapped. And he walked over to Chris and he said, "Top that, kid." So later we're sitting on the curb outside the nightclub we were filming in, and I said to David, David, you're a prick. And he said, "No, I'm not. I'm mischievous." But what I loved about him was I could say things like that to him, and it'd be cool. He was a good guy. Really sad that he's gone. I hope he came, is all I can say.
Yeah. No, it's a bit of a sad tale with David, but I mean, he left an incredible legacy, and as what would you say, rare cinema fans, Kai and I are both pretty across the works of David Carradine. Yeah, definitely fans.
Have you seen David Carradine's movie about the folk singer? Come on. Guthrie. Woody Guthrie, yeah.
I haven't.
Bound for Glory. If you want to see David Carradine as an actor, you should see Bound for Glory. It's a fantastic movie.
Added to my watch list right now.
Yeah.
Hal Ashby. Wow. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. It was made with a great director and a great cameraman, and David put in an amazing performance. So people kind of tend to dismiss David as a drunk and a B actor, but he really, if it wasn't for the alcohol, he could have been doing anything that any of the other guys his age were doing.
I mean, even B actors often give the most interesting performances because they're not under the thumb of the studio.
Like Wolf Larson in this one, I was saying in the chat that I'm incredibly impressed that it's a B movie, sure, but he's going in hard on his villain shtick and just really giving it everything. He's not like phoning it in. He's
Wolf is a great guy. He really is, and I just absolutely loved working with. I loved working with everybody. They were all totally into it, and really great fun. Jalal Marie is an absolute prince of a man, and Billy Blanks is, just so impressive, and just really good people, And I hope he made a lot of money with that film. I don't know how the business works in his end of it because it's really not where I live, but I hope he made a fortune. I hope he got back what he'd lost with the bad business deals.
Yeah, no, I think he's going okay. He continued on after that, so it can't have been too big of a loss for him.
We actually have a question from the chat that I am also desperate to know, although I have a feeling you've been asked this a bunch of times before, but there is an explosion towards the end of Expect No Mercy that looks extraordinarily dangerous. It looks like the actor, the stuntman, is caught in the explosion. Do you know what I'm talking about? And was it as dangerous as it looks?
Is that the one I was talking about? Is that one I was
No,
describing?
it's
Running out of
earlier
the
in the
building
it's
with,
earlier
It's a
in the
little bit
film.
earlier. It's when they're doing the raid on the house, like at like the cottage, basically.
yeah.
And
Yeah, but they've got the witness in protection, and they're doing the raid on the cottage, and it looks like he gets caught in the explosion of that small prefab cottage.
Nothing we did was endangering actors at all. I mean, it was all very, very safe, but also pretty impressive. I mean, I've never seen as many squibs and explosions as they did on that cabin, where they just shot the hell out of it and everything's flying through the air. It was quite wonderful. Great fun. I mean, for somebody who likes to blow things up, you just can't beat it.
No, absolutely.
Oh, I have a personal question. The iguana scenes, is that all you, or was that built into the script?
That's just something the actor happened to have an iguana. You know, he had a
What?
pet iguana, and he said, "Can I put this in the movie?" And I said, "Well, why not? I like iguanas." And
Yes, that's amazing.
That's
yeah,
really good. I like
yeah, it
that.
was. Yeah, and I thought it worked nicely to have a little touch of pathos when you
Yeah.
bought it.
Yeah, the scene where the iguana is mourning him, and after he's died, it's
Yeah, I
yeah.
was gonna go, oh. Yeah, no, there were those smaller parts all brought everything they could to the scene, and oh, I've forgotten his name, but he's a master with the bullwhip. You know, it really
Yes,
is.
yes, yes. Earlier in the raid on the luxury mansion, he whoosh, whips a guy's weapon out of his hand, I think.
Yeah, no, I can snap a bullwhip, and actually I made bullwhips out of Australian kangaroo hide, by the way, which is the best bullwhip material in the world. I don't know if you knew that, but Australian bullwhips are the best you can get, and kangaroo hide is amazing because it's only like an eighth of an inch strip of kangaroo hide. You can't break it, and it's incredibly strong and flexible. So I've been playing with bullwhips since I was in my teens. So it was great fun working with him because we would compare bullwhipping notes and things. Of course, you can't do with a bullwhip most of the stuff that we pretended you could do. You just can't do it. It's silly to even think about it that way. I always get a kick out of bullwhip fights because you'll see the guy with the bullwhip go crack, and somebody running towards him will suddenly fall backwards like they've been to a blow. And you know, you can't fight with a bullwhip. As soon as you get inside the whip's range, they can't touch you. So if I was fighting a man with a bullwhip, I'd just run at him real fast and punch him in the head.
Does when you use the bullwhip, is there like a specific limit? Like, can you only hit something at a specific distance away from you, or?
Well, of course, you know, with a 12-foot bullwhip, you can hit something 12 feet away, or maybe 12 to 8 feet away. But once they're inside that range, it's, I don't know, maybe a master bullwhip artist could do something. I'll tell you a bullwhip story. I used to belong to a fast draw club, and I was into bullwhips at the time, and I had my first Australian bullwhip. And one of the guys in the club was a guy named Bob Mernickel, who was the world champion at double balloons, which meant that he could draw and fire a single action pistol and break two balloons 10 feet apart in 22 100ths of a second. It takes you 15 100ths of a second to blink your eyes. Now, this is a single action old style Colt pistol, right? So it's pretty impressive that somebody can draw and fire that twice and break two balloons in 22 100ths of a second. But Bob would sit watching TV, mostly Westerns, and polishing his guns at night. And if you said to Bob, can I see your gun for a minute? He'd say, oh no, nobody touches my gun. But I brought the bullwhip to the gun club, and Bob said, can I try your whip? And I said, sure, let's go out in the parking lot. So he took the bullwhip and went, crack. And the bullwhip came down and picked his pistol out of his holster and dropped it on the ground in front of him. He couldn't have done it again in a million years. And he just handed the whip back to me and said, no. They're very tricky. I tried to teach a guy in Toronto a couple of years ago. No, in Winnipeg a couple of years ago. And he ended up putting a real stripe down his back because, you know, when you pull it back and snap it forward, it's very easy to crack the back of your shirt, and it'll cut you.
I've done. I grew up in rural Queensland, and I've tried and failed to bullwhip. With
so you know about bullwhips a bit, yeah.
Yeah, they hurt. They hurt a lot.
They hurt you.
Yeah, they really do. We've got one more question from the chat, which is, I love bullwhip chat a lot. But just recursing back to Billy Blanks, did he ever mention, or did you have any hint of Tae-Bo on set? Was there any mention of the Empire and what it could become, or was that still on the down low for him?
I'm not sure. I don't think anybody mentioned Tae-Bo on the set, and I'm not sure it had happened yet. I'd have to check into the schedule of things to find out whether he'd been on Oprah popularizing Tae-Bo at that point. Billy Blanks was already famous in Africa. He was, he's a world champion martial artist, and he was famous at the Muhammad Ali kind of level in Africa. And so I don't know about Tae-Bo. I visited him in Los Angeles and went to his gym and his fight club, and it was really pretty impressive. He had one guy there showing me things you can do to another person that were shockingly easy and incredibly hard on them. Yes, thank you for going close to your mic there, Ingrid. I keep losing you somehow.
Sorry, yeah, that's probably on my end. Trying to do the best I can with this setup that won't keep everyone in my house up. I don't think we have any more questions from the chat. Kai, was there anything else that you wanted to ask Zale about?
I'll be honest. I'm just so happy I got the bullwhip stories. So I'm pretty happy right now. But we were saying perhaps that maybe in the future we could maybe have you on again for earlier film viewers, maybe.
Maybe a bit of Skip Tracer, if you'd like to maybe show something like that.
Skip Tracer or Terminal City Ricochet. I got tons of stories about those. Whoops.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I've got to show you my hat. This absolutely changes my whole appearance. You got to see this.
Oh, excited.
Ready for this?
Yeah.
Oh.
What does this say?
Can you read it?
You're a range safety officer, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, for a second I thought you were about to reveal you were MAGA. And I'm so glad that you're actually a safety officer for the range.
I can't wear this anywhere but at the range, because if you saw it from a distance, you might think I was a MAGA.
Yeah.
That would be terrible.
It's just special hat for the range.
Beg pardon?
I just said I think it makes it more special that you can only wear one place, right?
Yeah. And it's my authority hat. I had to take the training just to get the hat, because the hat was free once I got the training. And so I put in 4 hours a week as the range safety officer, and I get to make sure that people are following the safety rules. And that's fun. I'm finally back into shooting again. I was away from it for years and years and years, and I have very mixed feelings about firearms. But the gun control stuff that they're trying to do here is just getting everybody upset and not doing any good. So I like what Australia did. I think Canada, my personal view is, don't tell anybody, that if they restricted everybody to bolt action rifles with 3 shots in the magazine, I'd be okay with that. And if they banned all handguns, I'd be fine with that too. It's time to put away childish things.
Definitely. I think that's also a beautiful note to end on, Zale. I'm extremely sorry to cut off talking to you because I'm having a ball, but we're running behind due to technical issues and we need to jump on to the next film.
Well, call me when you want to talk, and you guys, I'm glad you're having a good time, and have a good session and get some sleep.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You.
We will, this is the voice of God coming in, but we will be in touch very shortly for a screening of one of your other films. We'd love to have you back.
Okay.
We would love it. Thank you so much, Zale.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.